Welcome everybody to the June's Oakdale Area Chamber of Commerce Zoom meeting. Thank you everybody for joining in. I know everybody is extremely busy and we have a lot of stuff going on. Like Kim said, we will be having this on the public access channel. We have multiple guests today from the mayor, who's going to join us a little bit later after about 12:30-ish in that area. He's going to come in. He's in a meeting with Betty McCullum right now. He is joining a meeting with Betty to talk about the riots and safety of the community. So welcome everybody to our chamber meeting. A quick question, Tony, is Julie and Rob going to chime in?
I sent them the information. Kim, can you see if either of them are on the call?
I don't see them.
Okay. Well, they were invited, and I told them to come on right, like between 11:30 and 11:45. And so if they pop in, we'll give them an opportunity to talk.
Perfect. Yeah, that works out perfect. Plus, it's sure busy today for them, and so I'm gonna actually, Brandon, did you have anything that you'd like to talk about before we get into the other speakers?
No, thanks, Holly. You guys have it. You guys have it down.
Perfect. And if we do see Rob or Julie pop in, we'll just kind of revert to that. But like I said, the mayor is in a meeting right now currently. So according to my agenda, Dan, would you be willing to go ahead and kick off this meeting with information about the community as well as anything from Washington County? We do have two guests, Tyler and Chris from the county too.
Absolutely. Welcome everybody. It's good to see you in this new normal. I'm going to just cover two areas. The upresting in Oakdale due to the Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, who lived near Eastside Park. There are a lot of misinformation there. And then I'll handle some COVID-19 updates. As we all know, the tragic death of George Floyd was very tragic. It was only a week ago Monday. It may seem like a long time with all the activity around it. So last Tuesday, after the firing, Minneapolis stopped surveillance protection of his home. So then it became all Oakdale and Washington County's responsibility. Washington County, Oakdale did a wonderful job, so I'll mainly focus on Washington County and try to give clarity to what all has occurred in Washington County versus the concern for rioting and safety. There were no arrests initially the first day when it peaked up last Wednesday. Washington County, we have a mobile field force that we deployed. Then from Wednesday through Friday, there were 13 arrests in front of the home. There was really no violence though. I think they just wouldn't leave. Then when Friday came and he was, the charges were made, that's when the house really went to much safer, the protesting dropped off. But in the meantime, for those several days, we actually had 9 other counties supporting policing support around that home. I only actually live about 2 blocks from it, so it was very concerning. There were over 100 officers involved, 100 different officers involved. Washington County, the curfew, Washington County decided not to do a curfew as Oakdale did. The county thought it was better to handle it on a city by city basis. Washington County was there to support the cities in any way possible if they went on to curfews. And then starting last Friday, when the rioting in Minneapolis particularly ramped up, we went to a situation called 12-hour rotations, and the entire sheriff's office was on duty. We went to 2-person squad cars for their safety, 12-hour rotations, and the entire county staff was assigned either to a mobile team or a SWAT team. And then strike teams were developed to be more agile. And there were a lot of concerns in Oakdale, and the county police, the county sheriff's office backed up all calls. So if Oakdale in the evening could typically only handle a few calls at a time, it was seamless. Washington County would just pick up that call and go to that residence or whatever was necessary. There were instances of flash looting in our county. 24/7, the courthouse and government center for about the last week was protected 24/7. And then we started tracking expenses per a work order to just see how much the extra cost of this unrest in the Twin Cities. We actually then, starting last Saturday, deployed help to Minneapolis for their efforts, both tactical and intel. And then our sheriff's department, even till now, has worked daily with calls either with the state commissioner Harrington and police chief Sullivan. So all the chiefs in the county. And then we enacted an emergency declaration from the county. We didn't announce it publicly, but it provided flexibility last week for our sheriff's department to work with other jurisdictions and spend money to keep the unrest in check. We thought it was some of the counties, we didn't want to, maybe sensationalizing is a bad word, but we didn't want to overemphasize concern. Our sheriff's department has monitored everything till now, and really it's all pretty much peace. And we didn't feel the curfew was necessary because there was no immediately threat. I'm just going to cover some COVID updates. COVID-19. Right here is a sheet we covered with the county commissioners at our board meeting 2 days ago. And basically we are projected this year to have a $7.5 million budget cost of all the COVID related. It's projected. Right now we've spent about 3.2 million on COVID. It's been unfunded. The state is currently, get my notes here. Currently the state with the, I apologize here. With the CARES Act and the legislature, the last funding from the federal was supposed to work with the counties. So if we do get the CARES Act funding, we will figure out a method to share it with small businesses. And if there's further money left, we'll figure out a way to help people out that are suffering from rents. But that's currently in the news, as will the state share that money with the counties. We're easing back into providing services. We never stopped services, but now they're a little more contact. They're more done on a appointment basis, library services, licensing services. Some of these things can be done through the internet. We had provided free park access. Something recently you wouldn't think we were doing, but we've coordinated food services with our food nonprofits, and we've worked with delivery services such as Met Transit to deliver food at no charge to needy individuals. And we've done some group food services in some of our poorer housing areas. We had started up a mask. We had so many people wanting to provide masks, so we started up a mask donation, how to get them out to first responders. Really the COVID-19, as we have not quite leveled out. There's indication that maybe it's leveling out. We'll see in the coming weeks whether it levels out and starts to decline. Just a few last comments. The goal line continues to move forward. We're just submitted information to try to get a medium-high ranking and then enter engineering. City of Oakdale, City of Woodbury has been really good to work with because we had to come up with 350 additional parking spots. Most of them were found in Woodbury, but Oakdale also gave up an acre or two of land to that falls off the tax rolls, but actually provides the parking to get our rating up. Through this COVID-19, the goal line, even though it's about a 10-year total process, has fallen like 6 months behind. We have a new library in Matamita and a new park building in the Cottage Grove Ravine with COVID factors in mind for spacing and materials. And I've also been called on to work with some businesses that have been frustrated with not being able to open. I'm not going to mention the businesses, but because it's personal and in many ways confidential, but I have been reached out to try to get work through Susan Kent as an example, who minority leader of the Senate, who has direct access to Governor Walz. So really people have been reaching out for that help. Understandably frustrated with the opening process. The county is basically following the governor's process, and I think all counties have. Lastly, I think it's a good segue to Chris and Tyler to focus a little more on some business help. Thank you. I'm open for any questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Stan. Lot of great information there. And like you said, definitely open for questions. Feel free to, if we want to wait till the end, you can ask the questions, or feel free to reach out to Stan directly.
Yeah, and message me.
Message you? Okay.
You know, or chat you. Chat. Thank you.
Okay. This particular meeting, just to note, we don't have a chat area. We're going to be able to ask openly. So if you want to raise your hand or unmute yourself, feel free. So like you said, we do have Chris and Tyler here. I'm going to actually start with, let's go with Tyler. Welcome, Tyler, and go ahead and give us some updates from the county.
Thank you, Holly, and thank you for having me today. My name is Tyler Hilsebeck, and I run the Washington County Open to Business program. It's a business resource for small businesses throughout Washington County and Oakdale. We provide technical assistance and business coaching for entrepreneurs all over the county on a free and confidential basis. And so the program is put forward and provided by the county and particularly the commissioners. So we want to thank Commissioner Krowski for all of his support in making this program possible for small businesses. So typically what we do is small business, if they're interested in getting some assistance, would email me or call me. And I don't have the chat feature to put my information in, but I'll send it to you, Holly, so people on this call can access that. And then we would set up a meeting to talk about your particular issue or opportunity or challenge going through this unprecedented time, and then provide you with the resources that you need to kind of navigate through the waters of this pandemic. You can set up a Zoom meeting or a phone call, meet with me anytime that you want. We're experiencing kind of a high volume, but we can certainly sit with you and answer any questions or provide you resources that we can to help out. A lot of what we're doing is matching people with financial resources. There have been some federal programs that have been made available that everyone is aware of. One of them is the PPP program, which recently the Senate enacted some changes to make it more friendly to the borrowers. We were hearing a lot from our clients about how difficult the PPP was because of some of the parameters put forth, and they've eased some of those, and I'll go through them really quickly here. Originally, PPP borrowers needed to expend their funds within an eight-week period. I think that people were finding that difficult to do, and they are proposing to extend that to 24 weeks. And so it gives the PPP borrowers a little more time to spend their money. Another one that was a little difficult for the borrowers was there was a requirement for borrowers to use at least 75% on payroll costs. And as we all know, it's been difficult for borrowers in this time frame to rehire their employees based on a number of factors, based on demand, based on perhaps some of the unemployment benefits that their employees are receiving, and the general hesitance to return to the workforce given the pandemic. So that 75% threshold that needed to be spent on payroll has been lowered to 60%. And then there's also been some change to the language about whether you hire someone back or whether you attempt to hire someone back. So if you give best efforts to hire someone back, the new law might allow you to include that in your calculation when getting your PPP reimbursement. And then finally, the repayment schedule for the PPP for the part of the loan that wasn't forgiven was previously 2 years at a 1% interest rate, and they are proposing to extend that to 5 years. And so they're really kind of hearing, what issues are coming back from the applicants. There were a lot of people that applied that weren't the PPP, which they're trying to fix right now. They're also opening it up to more CDFIs and local lenders to make sure that people in communities that aren't, typically serviced by SBA approved lenders can access these funds too, because I think a lot of people were being shut out. So that's just a quick update for the PPP. We can go through, the commissioner spoke briefly about how federal funds have been going to some counties, but not other counties in Minnesota. Hennepin County and Ramsey County have received CARES Act money that they are now deploying as grants. We're going to keep a close eye on what they do with the other small business support from CARES to see if Washington County can tap into that support, and we can get more resources to small business. So we can talk, if you are a small business and you want to talk through these kind of options and other things, maybe projecting your business going forward in recovery, we can certainly help with that too. So I'll provide the information to contact me, and then we can set up a meeting. But again, it's free, it's confidential. We won't speak with anyone about who you are as a business. And we just encourage you to call and don't try to go through this by yourself, because there's just so much going on and so much to learn. And so we encourage you to please get in contact with us. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chris Eng, who is the Washington County Economic Development Director, and he can go through any updates that he has. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tyler. And Holly, thank you for inviting us this morning to visit with you. And I'll keep it brief. I know you've got kind of a tight timeline here. But I just want to echo some of Tyler's comments. Please reach out to Tyler and ask for assistance if you need help, or if you know of somebody that needs help right now. These are really challenging times for everybody, and we want you to know that you don't have to go it alone. There's help available. It's at no cost to you individually. The county commissioners through the CDA approved hiring Tyler with the Open to Business program in 2017. And I really want to thank Commissioner Karwoski for his leadership. He is a strong advocate for small businesses in the county. And just to put it in perspective, 95% of all of the county's businesses have fewer than 50 employees. 86% have fewer than 20 employees. And so we really are made up of small businesses, and under Commissioner Karwowski's leadership, who I should also mention, serves as an alternate on the CDA board of directors, is a strong advocate, and we really want to thank him for his leadership in that area. But one of the things I want to just touch on briefly is we're working with the Open to Business program right now to create a new program in the region, and it'll be 100% funded by private donations or corporate donations. If there are companies that are doing really well right now during this COVID pandemic, and they want to contribute to those that are struggling, we've created a mechanism now that they can donate money to this nonprofit organization. So it would be a write-off for the companies that want to donate. And the businesses that are looking for help would get a grant. And the grants could be for up to $7,500. For example, if you're a restaurant and you're opening up again slowly and you need to restock your supplies, your cooler's empty, or whatever the case might be, we might be able to help you now through this Business for Business program that will be launched on Monday of next week. And we really want the chambers to know that this is available so you can help spread the word. And if you do know of anybody that's doing really well that wants to contribute to other businesses that are struggling, this is a mechanism for you to do that. And that will also be operated through the Open to Business program. And I think Tyler did a really good job covering the Open to Business program in general and the small business assistance programs that are out there. So I won't repeat that, but I do want to thank you again for your time, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Chris. Say, Tyler, this extension, the PPP extensions and all that, is that possibly coming up, or is that that's not?
It was just approved by the Senate yesterday, and so
Okay.
we think that it would be very close to being enacted.
And is this only for Washington County, or is it Dakota, Ramsey? The Open to Business, this program?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. So the Open to Business program is available throughout the Twin Cities. My territory is Washington County, which means if you either live in Washington County or you have a business or plan to open a business in Washington County, I can assist you. And if it's in another county throughout the Twin Cities, we can match you up with an advisor that is located in that area as well.
Okay. Yeah, very good information. This was excellent. So yes, Tyler, by the end of the day today, I do have your contact information. I will do I don't know how we'll get it out, Kim, but to make sure that everybody that was part of the meeting, and not even, we could probably just do the whole chamber, has your contact information.
Yeah, I was going to maybe suggest that if Dr. Ben was willing to add all this great information to the Tuesday newsletter, that would be a good way to get it out to everybody.
Yeah, that we could certainly do that. I just want people to, open the Tuesday tidbit knowing that information's in there. So,
Ms. Chair, I would like to, Stan Karwowski, I'd like to acknowledge Tyler and Chris and their efforts with small business. It's been in its existence now maybe about 3 years, and they're really making strides across the county, and they're always receptive to help, and they've really made a big difference. They're a big asset to our county's economic growth and stability, and real good for small business. They're doing a great job. Thank you.
yes, that's wonderful to hear. Thank you. And yes, what a great resource. And obviously, due to the times, a very necessary resource. So I'm not even sure what time it is. I don't know where my little clock went on this computer, but does anybody know what time it is?
11:56.
11:56. So where are we at here? Oh man, we can't even get any closer. It's 11:55. Perfect. According to the agenda here, Chris. So today we wanted to acknowledge Sergeant Peppers for not only being a huge part of our community, the small business. They also did a match donation to our last meeting for gift cards. I'm guessing just due to the busyness, they weren't able to just kind of get in and talk a little bit. But Tony, did you want to say anything on behalf of Sergeant Peppers in a way? You know them very well.
Yeah, just the fact that they're like a lot of other restaurants have struggled tremendously through COVID, and they're open now. They've got their patio open. They also put up a tent outside and are using some of the parking lot to serve people, and they've got some chairs and tables up on the sidewalk. So they're trying to get as many people served and taken care of as they can during these times. But so again, it's just, and they still have their to-go menu and stuff like that. So they're doing the best they can to operate, and would certainly appreciate any support from people that can either, stop in there and have a cocktail and something to eat, or order some food to go. Other thing that people can do to help them too is liking their Facebook page, and commenting on things there, and kind of keeping an eye on what they've got going on. They're very good at posting stuff on their Facebook page and have a pretty good following there. So again, it's like many businesses. They're struggling. They're trying to get back on their feet, do what they can. And one thing about Sergeant Pepper's is they've always been a huge supporter of our community, a huge supporter of our business, the Oakdale Chamber, for literally since the beginning. And have always been there and always given when we've asked things of them. So hopefully we can return the favor and be there to support them as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead. Today we have guest panelists made up of local businesses, independent businesses. So I'm just going to list them off, and I don't really have a rhyme or a reason of how we can start, but Tony Schwartz, Eric Morley, Paul Malafance, and Mark Cove are our guests today. And if you would like to, let's just go in that order. Introduce yourself, tell a little bit about your business, and what you're seeing through maybe the COVID, the changes that you're seeing, and what your thoughts are, hopefully what encouraging thoughts you'd have for other businesses. Okay, so we'll start off with Tony and just go down that row.
Okay, thanks, Holly. Tony Schwartz with eXp Realty. I've been actually one of the founding members of the Oakdale Chamber. So unfortunately, it ages me a little bit. So I've been around for quite a while with this organization, and love supporting it and all the things that we do for the community. Kind of an update from a real estate perspective. We stayed busy during COVID. There definitely was a downtick in business. I know there's a lot of stuff going out there about how busy there is, and there's multiple offers and all this stuff, and that is very true. However, a lot of it is dependent upon price points. A lot of first-time home buyers trying to get into the market, a lot of people trying to take advantage of the interest rates. But overall, in April, we had a decline in pending transactions, which are accepted purchase agreements on listings. And I think the biggest challenge that we're having there is just a lack of inventory. So there certainly are buyers out there that want to purchase, and you're seeing a ton of multiple offers on properties. But we're not just seeing the inventory out there, and whether that's people not wanting to have people in their homes, just not wanting to see what happens. Obviously, employment issues and people just kind of sitting tight and waiting this thing out is probably the cause of that. But overall, the real estate market has stayed strong, and it's been a real positive. One of the things for us, I believe, in our industry is that we have really learned that technology works in our industry. I'm fortunate enough to be with a company that has been 100% virtual for the 10 years that in its existence. So we don't have offices. We don't, everyone works from home or does office share type of deals. And so we've kind of been on that edge already, but I think we're seeing a lot of the industry now realizing that technology works. They can function from home. They can get their job done. They can still do offer the great service that they have before by using technology. And the other big thing we're seeing is a lot more of virtual tours, 3D type tours. So people can really get a good handle on what a home looks like, how it lays out, how it feels. Literally, with these 3Ds, you can walk through the house on your computer. And so we've been seeing that being used a lot because of the COVID, and we've had restrictions on showings. We just opened up doing open houses again, but I think people still are a leery and probably rightfully so of going into open houses and stuff. So overall, we're seeing the market stay fairly steady. We're seeing it stay strong. I'll tell you, 3% interest rates. If you're thinking of refinancing or you're thinking of making a move, it's certainly a time to do it. We've seen a lot of people that have actually, a lot of my past clients have reached out to me and said, especially ones that have purchased like condos and stuff, they're reaching out going, I need a house. I need a bigger space. So I think COVID has, people having to stay home has really changed a lot of their attitudes on what they want in a house and stuff like that. So, and then for me personally, just being at home as much as I have been, I really focused on what I call relationship marketing and just staying in contact and reconnecting with past clients and just communicating with them and seeing how they're doing, if there's any way that I can help them and that type of stuff. So overall, that's kind of what's going on in the real estate industry and how it's affected us. But I think a lot of people have been hurt a lot worse than we have, considering everything that's going on.
Thank you so much, Tony. I just had to step out real quick, but I'm glad. That's kind of funny that people are wanting bigger homes. I could imagine, especially if you have 2 people working from home, like I need space.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had one client that literally said, he counted it. He goes, I have to touch 5 door handles to get out of my condo and down to the street. And this is in downtown St. Paul. And then he goes, and then when we get to the street, people are everywhere. And so he goes, it just is an uncomfortable deal. I don't want to do it anymore. So, and again, everyone has their own ways that they're handling this and their own beliefs and all that stuff. So it's a touchy subject, but for some people, they're saying, yeah, I want to have a yard to go in and a fire pit to start a fire in at night and stuff like that they just didn't need before. So.
Right. Yes. Well, good. Well, thank you, Tony. And encourage anybody, obviously, if you have any real estate needs or any help with any of that, just touch base with Tony. And he knows everybody. So there's that too. So if you need any help with anything, right? How about next, we'll go to Eric from Big Frog.
Hey, Eric, before we go to Eric, can we get rid of the screen share? Fantastic.
Yay. Oh yeah, I like that better. Good suggestion.
Oh, okay. Here's me. I'm like, I don't know. Can we?
Sure. Do it after I'm done.
I didn't want to interrupt you.
Hi everybody, I'm Eric Morley. I'm with Big Frog Custom T-shirts and more. Lately I've been introducing myself as Big Frog Custom Masks and more because I think we're selling more customized masks than anything else at the moment. So not that that's a plug, but okay, it is. It's a shameless plug. Just to give a little bit of retailer perspective and small business perspective, as Tony mentioned, the impact has been pretty dramatic, obviously, on retail. We were closed for a good number of weeks, and now that we are reopened, we're reopened. But because of the size of our retail footprint, we can only have a couple of customers in the store at a time. So we've had to go to an online appointment setting process, which, just overall makes things a little bit more cumbersome, a little bit less efficient. We're doing a lot more over phone and email than, face to face. But it's driven some positive things in the retail space. It's made us pivot pretty quickly to, being able to offer new things and integrating these online calendars. And in fact, we've even used Zoom to design shirts for customers. We do that screen share thing that you were just seeing. You can see our design process as it goes. You're on the line with a graphic designer, and it's cumbersome, but it works. So we've gotten the job done, and it's really caused us to get creative. I think there are some positive things that have come out of all this, and one is that the term shop local means a lot to us small business owners, but it's really become more pervasive. I hear it out more in the community now. I see people going out of their way to try to find a local small business that they can support. And so I hope as things reopen up that doesn't get lost in the messaging. But that makes me very optimistic that people are seeking that out. The things that Tyler brought up around having the access to the PPP money and things like that have really been good for us as well. We've grown slowly, we've grown carefully, we're going to survive this. We're not thriving at the moment, but we're surviving is what I tell people. And having that extra cushion just definitely helps and will get us back on our feet faster, knowing that we can make some strategic investments that we need to. So that's it from a retailer perspective right now.
Fantastic, Eric. I do like that word, the shop local, and I do feel like, I just know even in my community, when the restaurants were closed, or I know that the neighbors, they were all trying to make efforts to just, even if it was Saturday for lunch, Sunday for brunch, make sure they were getting on the communities and ordering locally, which they traditionally would have never done. But shop local has always been something important in small business to probably all of us because of what we do. But it's getting more prevalent that it's very important for these small businesses to get the support from the community. And yeah, there's certain things, yeah, I'm guilty of, on Amazon or whatnot, but it's important to support locally. And hopefully, if anything, being optimistic, this will continue to grow and there'll be multiple and many people continue to support local and get new people to support local. So thank you.
Holly, to piggyback on what Eric said too, and I think one of the things that a lot of people don't, well, they probably get it, but there's a trickle effect to all of this. And it goes, when you talk about retail and you look at the commercial real estate market, there are a lot of landlords that are not getting rent checks, and therefore they're not making their mortgage payments. And everyone's working together to defer and try to do what they can, but we have to understand that if we don't help these local businesses succeed, I mean, I've got a lot of clients that are calling me. I do commercial tenant rep, and I have a lot of them call me going, we want to reduce our square footage. We realize that half of our workforce, to give you an example, Security in downtown St. Paul, they have 1 million square feet of office space. They're probably going to not bring back 40% of their workforce. They're going to keep them home, and because they've realized that the technology is there, and a lot of their employees like that, and they're saving money by not having people come in. So now we're going to have all this excess square footage, and we're going to have a lot of these retail stores that are going to be, or retail centers that are going to be half empty, the malls, all that kind of stuff. So again, my point is that shopping local is huge. Every chance you can possibly get to keep people in business, to keep the flow going through all the different processes. I'm sure Mark Cove will talk a little bit about their stance on when their owners of commercial real estate can't make their payments to them. What are we doing? It's a trickle effect. So everyone needs to keep that in mind.
Totally agree. Thank you, Tony. Perfect. I don't know who was next on the list. I think, is it Paul? Let's go with Paul.
Thanks, Holly. And I'm Paul Dolphins with Burke Wheeler and Rolling, and the treasurer of the Oakdale Chamber. And we're a public accounting firm in Oakdale and service local businesses and individuals. Yeah, from our business perspective, it's been very difficult to get employees out working remotely. We've always resisted allowing employees to work remotely so that they were in the office and collaborating together. And so we've had to acquire new technology and found that just having conversations is so much more of an effort than it used to be in the office. And so I think Eric mentioned too, we're just not as efficient as we used to be. And it seems like everything we do to keep ourselves safe makes us less efficient. And, the other part of what we're doing is advising a lot of our clients. We're probably working harder than ever and really not getting paid for it. We're really investing back in our clients to help them navigate all the new laws, tax laws, all the different incentive programs out there, including the PPP, and making sure that they can survive. And sometimes just being a sounding board or just to talk to them and talk through their business so they have somebody else to talk to. Yeah, so that's what we've been spending our days with.
Paul, I forgot to mention that one in my remarks, but I feel exactly the same way over the last, I've lost track, however many weeks it's been now. I feel busier than I ever have before, which is crazy because you think the business is closed, but it's busy doing those non-value added things like, learning all about PPP and FICRA and all these other things that are out there that I have to be aware of as a small business owner. It's just, it's been draining. I'm ready for a vacation. Not that I can go anywhere though.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I'm ready for a vacation, but there's nowhere to go, so I may as well keep working. And there's always another change to a new tax law or a new funding program that you have to stay up on. And so that's where we like to be is pushing out any changes, so our clients are up to date.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Paul. That was actually a discussion with Kim and I. I'm like, just last couple of days I've been stressed out. And the reality is I'm like, I need a vacation because it's like everything is taking 10 times longer and I'm actually not getting as much done. It's because everything is taking more people. I work obviously in marketing and there's a lot of furloughed people. So what used to be where I could get a quick design, for a billboard or whatever is turned into weeks. And you have to just be patient with everybody, but then it's just, everything is taking so long. But yes, everybody's going to need a vacation from the COVID, and which is kind of silly because I don't know if certain people have different hours, but some people may have less or more, but it's crazy. And I think being home alone just all the time it gets draining. So next we will talk to Mark Hold of Platinum Bank, and thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Holly. Again, Mark Cove with Platinum Bank. I'm not going to talk specifically about Platinum. I think in banking, we've been a little bit front and center in, you've heard the words PPP and CARES Act. If I hear those words 6 months from now, I just may crawl into a hole. We literally, the banking business, for those that don't know, probably abandoned their entire workload for 8 straight weeks to help administer that program. And it was, for those that went through it, knew it was touch and go. We didn't know if there was going to be reauthorization. So we had as many conversations with friends and clients about have a backup plan, have a number 2 option. Now, in the end, they reauthorized. In the end, the money came. And in some cases, we would have been 6 hours after or even 6 hours before a backup option. But in the end, just Platinum Bank itself gave out $85 million in PPP loans, and those monies went to the right businesses. We don't look, we look over our lists and the 400 and some people that populate it, and they're not publicly traded conglomerates. They're not these companies. They are your neighbors. They are your friends, and so those monies have been really valuable. That said, there's a lot of problems with that program, and Tyler and Chris talked about that earlier. The change in rules yesterday will certainly help, but these programs in the city of Oakdale and the county are all getting into some economic development help, which I like. But in the end of the day, I think Tony Schwartz hit on it. Eric Morley hit on it. If we're going to help small business and help this business community stay strong, we need to support them. And that's the number one thing that's going to make this turnaround happen, whether locally or regionally, is, when Sergeant Pepper's or when Oak Marsh Golf Course or when Big Frog, any of these people open up, we need to find a way to support them and make sure that business stays strong. So we think about different ways to do that. It's going to be far less about programs over time and far more how we spend our money and stay local with it. No question on the commercial real estate piece too. We have a ton of clients contracting. The bank itself, Platinum Bank, and I know several of the other bankers in this room are on this call. Angie Prop's on the call. They probably have the same situation. People are now working from home that we never guessed would work from home. Our entire wire department is working from their homes. And that's something we never would have thought would have ever happened. So we have over 40% of our workforce never coming back to our facilities. And that's just going to be a matter of fact going forward. Does that change in 2021? Maybe. But with that, we do expect to see some changes. A couple other things as far as it relates to how you should work with a bank during these times. It's keeping people informed, keeping your CPA and your attorney engaged in your business. The banks are continuing to lend money, whether it's Platinum, Highland, Lake Elmo, Western, all of our good local banks. They are all open for business and still willing to put money out. The difference is that we're asking questions we didn't ask before. How is COVID impacting you? How have you been impacted by maybe some of the civil unrest that you've seen in Minneapolis and extending on, as Commissioner Kowalski said, even into 17th and Helmo here in Oakdale? So how is that impacting the business? Those are questions that would have been covered in the past, just never asked directly. We always want to know before we extend dollars out to any business. What's your environment? What's your marketplace? What's your prospect for selling today and tomorrow? Those questions are the same. The difference is now you have a virus and a pandemic that has to get into the answer. How are you adjusting your products? But I will tell you, the clients that aren't informing their banks, aren't keeping them apprised. I don't, as a business owner, even if you're not required to provide monthly financial statements, you should be. At this point, you should show that you value professional engagement with your accounting firm and your attorneys, that when times are a little tougher, you're willing to spend the time dotting I's and crossing T's. And as Mr. Morley said, a lot of business owners now are spending a lot of time not doing things that are accretive to their business, understanding what a PPP is, spending time on how do I deal with the pandemic? How do I have sanitizer stands in my public spaces? How do I put a policy together for dealing with employees? These are things that, have taken their eye off the ball. So what the banks are looking at is how are these business owners working with their professional network to make sure that they stay on top of not only projections, but financial performance, and being able to be nimble in the event that they do have to cut staff or to cut expenses. So the best way for those businesses to avoid that, though, I'll go back to the main theme here, and that is to support support the community. If you can't find a reason to buy, for example, t-shirts at Big Frog, maybe you know somebody that does. So really understand who your neighboring businesses are, who the people in, essentially, as Sesame Street used to say, who are the people in your neighborhood, right? I've heard that term probably 15 times in the last 2 weeks, and I think it's totally right. We have to get in, get out. Looking forward to easing back. And I've talked to Rob and Julie at Sgt. Pepper's. The patio is great. The tent is great. That's not going to break them even. They need to be open. So this helps. It helps them certainly get back to somewhat square one. But remember that just because you can take an order or carry out, that doesn't mean it necessarily puts them over the top. What I'd also suggest in businesses that you can buy gift certificates, buy them in small amounts, but buy a lot of them. Those small ones that you can give to your clients. You heard Tony Schwartz talk about how you can take care of maybe some of your clients with gift packs and some send out stuff. I even think Tony probably could be of some help direct with that. And then my guess is many of our vendors and businesses can provide some product that maybe can get sent out during these tough times. So the banks are no different than everybody else. We are expected to not have near the revenue and profitability that we've had in the past. Everybody might think that PPP loan was a really accretive product to the banks. It's the opposite. The monies they do reimburse us with do help cover or defray those costs. But we abandoned our complete business for almost 8 weeks to make those products out and get into the marketplace. So with that came a lot of other opportunity costs left to the side. In addition, the banks have all had to put substantial more money in loan loss reserves, because we do expect that there are going to be businesses that might not survive and might have more hardship. So getting way into the weeds, but banks reserve money for loan losses. And most of us have doubled that reserve just in the last 6 to 8 weeks. And that's sizable numbers. That's in the 7 figures for every institution here. Highland, Lake Elmo, Platinum, Western, all of us are in that same boat. So we are all still open, willing to help out. But just know you're going to get asked a few more questions. How you value your professional network is going to be huge. In the days past, maybe we'd accept a handwritten statement from the cab of your truck. Today, you're going to need to see Paul and your friends at Burke Wheeler and see your attorneys and make sure that you stay sharp on the finances too. So that's it for me.
Excellent, Mark. Yeah, that is kind of definitely eye-opening that you've actually had basically 8 weeks of closing down just to be able to help support with the PPE and the CARE Act. And now you're saying 40% of your people from your office won't be coming back?
That is correct. We had we had 2 offices, Plymouth and Oakdale. Our Oakdale office was well overstacked. In fact, beyond over capacity. And now we don't anticipate more than 15 people coming back into that office. And so we've proven some of our departments can work more remotely. But as Paul noted, there's a synergy change. We've had technology changes. And I don't know, I'm not convinced that lasts long term. I think this is a a short-term thing. I was at an office company that provides office furniture and office environments yesterday. And they actually think it's going to be accretive because they said offices before that would have 25 people in one lunchroom and one set of bathrooms now are going to need, even if you have 10 or 15 people, you're going to want 2 lunchrooms and multiple sets of bathrooms. And it's going to take more space to do that. So it'll be interesting to see over the next 6 to 12 months exactly how that shapes out. I think you're going to see a lot of people rebuilding the space they have. And I think you're going to maybe see some of the buildings in the downtowns, maybe that's going to be where, as Tony pointed out, Securian, if Securian leaves downtown St. Paul, or, even half of their square footage, you might find they start leasing some smaller spaces out in the suburbs to put some pods. And so that hopefully we see some benefit to that to more of the local or regional small real estate purveyors.
Right. Well, thank you, Mark. Timing wise, we did pretty good today. At the end here, I would like to open up anybody for questions. If you want to go ahead and
Renke is on the line now.
Yeah.
Oops,
I
did not see that. Okay, well, we got to run. Let's go get over to Paul here quick.
Yeah, real quick. Thank you very much, Holly. Hey, Congresswoman McCollum had called a phone comm, and so I couldn't be on at the beginning. At the end of the day, what she was really after was supporting the East Metro cities and making sure that we knew that she was ready to help us, funds, potential, a number of things. So that was good to do. Then for Oakdale, I really want to say thank you to all the businesses, the residents, the people, because we've had a horrendous couple of days. You probably talked about it when I wasn't on the line, but truly, here's a little bit of God in place because of the huge rainstorm Tuesday night. Just really helped all the commotion that was at the house, Officer Chavez's house. And as Sullivan put it, Chief Sullivan, he said at 2 a.m, he had never been so wet and drenched and thankful. So we got lucky at that part. You know what, we had tremendous support from our neighbors, even internal departments, of course, the police, the fire, the public works, Washington County. We have the mobile command unit. Oak Park Heights was doing some mutual aid with us. And it was phenomenal. We did not do a curfew, and the several reasons. 2 reasons is that it stretches. If you're going to do a curfew, first off, Chief Sullivan said that he would strongly recommend against it. And then that led off into about 3 hours of conversation with all the counselors and with Chief and trying to figure out what is the best way to do it. At the end of the day, we said that the stretching of the police force, so if they have to take action with some curfew issues or protesters, and we have the curfew underlying, the sense was that it would restrict their ability to be flexible and disperse the various groups that needed to be handled. There's quite a bit more involved in that discussion, and if anybody's interested, I'd love to talk to you about all the things that I've learned. The moral of that story too is that you didn't see a lot of force on the streets, and you saw a lot of officers, you saw our cop cams, you saw our lights, you saw our barricades, that type of thing. But the amount of force and capability that was available to us to take care of the actions that might have happened was significant. And that's very, very reassuring. The other thing too, I guess, quickly here, is that the conversations that I was having throughout Tuesday through this Wednesday was really with the neighboring mayors. So Abrams, Furlong, Rust, Pearson, all of our neighbors were talking with each other to be sure that we understood, offering help, support, and trying to figure out the right way to do this. Lastly, I wanted to touch on just the support that's happening for the Oakdale business community. There's really 3 things that we came up with. We're not a bank. The city's not a bank. We're not in a position to be able to give money away or taxpayer money to do that type of thing. But we are taking and saying that there's going to be a rebate of any on-sale liquor license that could not sell any booze during this shutdown or the COVID piece. We're also saying that there's a business recovery loan program That's a very simple one-page deal. In essence, it's up to $2,000, 3-year deferred loan, 0% interest. And then the third thing that's going on is that there's a significant amount of flexibility for any restaurant that wants to do outdoor dining. And it's really just, we got to have some type of safety. We have to understand who's doing what, but it's a administrative approval through the Community Development Department. No planning commission, no city council, because we've already outlined what makes sense. And then Bob Streeter and his group will take action on it. So Holly, that's a high point.
Well, thank you, Mayor Paul. You kind of did miss the panel, but if anything, you'll be proud to hear is everybody's, shop local, stay local, support local businesses. So as a mayor, I'm sure you're proud of that.
Good. You bet.
I know in White Bear Lake here where I live, JL Schweeters donated, I don't even know how many picnic tables for every restaurant in town here. Like they built them, donated them. So I feel like we are about, Oakdale also has, not only through the business association, community-wise, we can come up with things like that too. And because we're very supportive. So probably a scary time to be mayor, but if anything, you should be proud because you do have a lot on your plate. And I think everybody is all here with good intentions to keep businesses, small business going. Mark and Tony talked about like the trickle effect. We need to support these small businesses. And however we can do that, whether come up with creative ideas like JL Schweeters did, or we could keep our options open, minds open. So with that being said, it's 12:30. So I don't think that, according to Kim, we don't really cut off here. We can still do some questions, but knowing that everybody has probably another Zoom meeting to be in, like me, we can do some questions, or feel free to reach out to any of our panelists. And then right now, I'm just gonna let anybody unmute themselves to say whatever they'd like to say, okay? Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Holly, this is Stan Karwowski. I just had a comment. I really enjoyed all the speakers, particularly the panel. It was really interesting, all of you, to hear that local, we read about it in the news and you kind of feel it, but to have it explained in detail from all of you, it was very meaningful. Thank you.
Yeah, and what's kind of neat about that, Stan, those are all people on the board of directors. We have a lot of talented people amongst us all the time, so, and we have lots more. So I do enjoy hearing from not only people from it's nice to utilize people from our chamber, I guess. So, all right, anybody else?
I have a question for Stan and Paul. When it comes to the curfew, so if the governor issues a curfew, I mean, how does it trickle down, and who really takes responsibility for that? Does it go down to each city deciding on their own? Or I know, Stan, you had said county-wide you could do it. Would that override then if the city wasn't doing it? Or how does that whole trickle-down effect work?
Well, Mayor, if you don't mind, I'll go first. Since our root cause, we went by I think the mayor had said he really relied on Chief Sullivan's. Well, we relied on Sheriff Starry. And the big thing was, I think the state can't mandate, well, I guess the governor could have done some statewide curfew, but really they can't make us do something. We have local control. And, but if we did a county curfew, I'm sure we would have wanted to have the blessing of all the cities. But the main thing is we didn't see any imminent threat. We have intelligence capabilities working through other jurisdictions, FBI, Commissioner Harrington, and so on. And it was coincidental because Mayor Ranke and he called me just to see, he was trying to get all his facts, so he wanted to see what role our sheriff's department, and we were there to support Oakdale in any way possible and try to help Mayor Ranke in any way I could. So I think Mayor Oakdale's decision, we wouldn't have overruled them in any way. We would support them. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. And Tony, that's a great question because I don't know the specific answer on a say Governor Walz said, Oakdale, you are going to be under a curfew, because the enforcement piece is the kicker to the curfew. And unless he were to say, oh, by the way, I'm sending X troops to come with you to help support the curfew enforcement, that's a really dangerous thing to do. So my guess is that he wouldn't do that without consultation and approval from us. And I bet you he would be, if he had intel or if he knew something that I didn't, I bet you he would be very, very persuasive to help me move towards that notion of doing a curfew. That notion of curfew too is a couple other things that we spend a lot of time talking about is this notion that our residents, for the most part, curfewed, and they stayed home. I couldn't stop myself from driving down past 17th and Helmo there on, must have been Friday night, Thursday night, where it was some concern. There was lots of reports, I saw half a dozen reports on Facebook that 75,000 people are coming to town, and God dang it, they're going to come to Oakdale and burn that house down. And it's like, well, the official feedback from DEA, FBI, Washington County, and our own force was, nah, no, it's not. So then 10:15, I just couldn't stop myself. In the car I went to drive past there, and man, it was a ghost town. The whole way from my home to 5th, then there were a couple of cars at the gas station just doing paperwork, I think. It was a FedEx truck. But then all the way up Helmo, nobody, the neighborhoods were quiet, and nobody was at the officer's house. Zero protester. I mean, it was such a nice reassurance that the process or the discussions were accurate, and we did, I think, make the right choice. There's something else too that with the professionalism that we did get accurate info, I think, from people. Outsiders coming in to cause havoc and to just raise holy hell and do the damage. If we did the curfew, we decided that it had to be enforced citywide. And when that happens, can you imagine a group of people down on the south side by Tanner's Lake who were part of the protesters, and there's 12 people, we got to go down there and take care of it. I mean, we have to do something. So 1, 2, 3 squads go down, and should we make an arrest, that's 3, 4, 5 officers potentially moving that individual from Oakdale down to Washington County. So then my 33 people, on our police force in total, and at any one time, I think we had 18 or so on, I just lost my people.
Right.
So that's that reason that Sullivan was saying, gosh, you guys are the politicians, you guys are the bosses, will do what you want, but just be really aware that should that happen, we're in trouble.
Yeah, makes
So
sense.
then the question came, well, let's selectively enforce. Tanner's Lake, hell with it. North, hell with it. Let's just take care of the 15th and Helmo and that area. And then he says, okay, get a little of this, because if you try to do that, and just by chance it's a setup, again, these protesters are pretty damn smart. So it's a setup, and there's, again, 25 people. We go and disperse, and we end up arresting 25 people. And just by chance, 20 of them happen to be a minority, Black, Asian, Somali, whatever, and then 5 are white. Boom, he says, Monday morning, you better be ready for that Data Practices Act to solicit information about who you arrested. And oh my God, so you guys are targeting minorities. And it's just a trumped up crap that I just didn't want to go down that path. As long as Chief and working with Sheriff Starry and everybody else firmly believed that they had the situation under control and had the capability to move very quickly and take care of business.
Yeah, makes sense. Thanks, Paul.
You're welcome.
Makes, a lot of sense. Thank you, Paul. Again, everybody who's joined us that is part of Leadership for Our Community, we're very thankful to have you, obviously. Anybody else have any further questions that they would like to address during this meeting? Otherwise, again, feel free to contact anybody from the panel. Take advantage of getting a hold of Tyler. It sounds like there's a lot of great avenues for businesses and resources. So that's something that I'm thankful for too. So.
If I could, oh, sorry.
I
I
was gonna
could squeeze one more comment, and it's piggybacking off of Mark Coase when he mentioned his reserves he was drawing down on. I just wanted to mention, even though we had COVID-19 unexpected costs, even this rioting unexpected costs, our AAA bond rating, part of that is having a healthy reserve for these emergency situations. So we've been able to comfortably get into the reserve to help us out. And that's why we get a high bond rating. So that's part of the scenario. Sorry, Mark.
No worries. I just wanted to follow up on Paul's comment, on Mayor Ranke's comment as well. And I've heard from several business owners that were appreciative this week of the thoughtful process that the mayor and the council took. I know Councilman Zabel's on this call too. I can see his picture off to the left. And I think the fact that they took the time over the weekend to not just to make the quick reaction, but to do the one I think that was right for how our security is, how our safety is, and for how our business community appreciated the fact it wasn't a jump to just kind of follow everybody off a bridge because everybody else is doing it. I think curfews make a lot of sense in some situations, but I like the fact that our council took a thoughtful approach to it and realized our population density and our police force would be better served without one. And I think that proved good. Even though some of us maybe scratched our heads occasionally on it, but it ends. That's why we elect people. That's why Councilman, County Commissioner Kowalski and Councilman Zabel and Mayor Ranke all put in that effort to make those tougher decisions, even if they're not always met with popularity. I'm appreciative that everybody's working together for our benefit.
Excellent. Say, I just want to jump in. We are going to stay on schedule with the board meetings as well as general meetings. So July 2nd would be our next general meeting, a Zoom meeting, I'm presuming. I feel like that might be the way we're going to go for a little while. If anybody has any comments, or if you're thinking because of the 4th of July being that Friday or that Saturday, otherwise I think we're going to just keep it as July 2nd and stay tuned for another group of group of panelists sticking with the topics of our small business, our community businesses, our chamber members, and just staying focused on the positive and what we can do right now as of today to keep moving forward and being positive. So anybody else would like to ask any questions, stay on here, go for it.
Say, Holly, I just want to piggyback on what you just said. Those of you that take the time to come to this Zoom meeting, we really appreciate you doing it. It's important that this organization stays strong and stays connected. It's an important part of the city. It's an important part of our business community. And again, I want to express my appreciation for those of you that take the time to do this. I encourage you to really keep an eye on the Tuesday tidbits. There's a lot of good announcements in those. And I think, we do have to have some discussion with the board about do we do a July 2nd meeting or do we move it out a week or whatever. So the Tuesday tidbits is really your spot to get information, get updates. So I know it's easy to pass by them because they come out every Tuesday and you might skip through it, but just try to pay attention to those. And again, reach out to our board if you have questions, comments, concerns with your business. Our board of directors is here to help. The people on that board are top-notch people, and they're volunteers, and they're connected with the city officials and stuff like that. This group and the city have such a great partnership in the county that it's really something to take advantage of and stay connected with. So again, we know there's decisions coming up here on, we all belong to 2 or 3 or 4 of these organizations, and which ones are we going to stay with and which ones going down the road are going to be valuable to us, and this is a very valuable organization, and I hope everybody stays connected and continues to support us.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate that.
Oh,
all right.
Hi. One more thing, Tony, you're right on track with the board being willing to help any business. Likewise, I want to be sure that everybody understands that the city is ready and willing and able to help also. yes, it's different than a business or than an association because of the taxpayer funds. And then I kind of smile when I say that because, hey, I'm from the government. We're here to help. You know, that old joke. But still, you know us, you know the counselors, you know our department heads, you know our cops, you know everybody knows us in this small town. So if there's a need, if there's something that you see that needs attention, we are ready to take action and try to make it better.
Fantastic. That's a very promising thing for all of not only businesses but community members. So watch your Tuesday tidbits, and thank you everybody for joining the meeting, and have a blessed day. Bye.
Thanks, Holly.
You bet.
Bye. Thank you, Hal.